Venom.
Venom may be one of Spider-Man's most powerful foes, but he's not the only symbiote on the block. From Carnage to SCORN to TOXIN, there are plenty others that are even stronger and more destructive than Venom himself. So let's wiki break it down. Here's how Marvel's most powerful symbiotes stack up. Peter Parker was the first person in the comics to use the Venom symbiote, but he never fully bonded with it. He got a power boost, sure, but Pete eventually rejected the symbiote for his old spandex, and we know how that worked out. When Venom was captured by the Life Foundation, they created 5 new symbiotes from samples of him. 4 of those, Riot, Lasher, Phage, and Agony, only appeared in a handful of stories and never had a chance to stand out as individuals. Theoretically, as Venom's offspring, they should be stronger than him, but they never showed much skill with their powers. Eventually, they fused into the symbiote called Hybrid, but even that wasn't enough to stop Venom. Scream is the 5th Life Foundation symbiote, and she stood apart from her brethren for trying to murder them. The simple fact that she was able to overpower and, spoiler alert, kill Agony shows that Scream was more in tune with her symbiote than the rest. She also debuted 2 years before the movie Scream, so that's something, I guess. No! When the symbiote passed from Peter Parker to Eddie Brock, it retained most of Spider-Man's abilities, but having a new host gave it amplified power, and granted it several new abilities, including razor-sharp fangs and the ability to block Peter's Spidey sense. So while Venom isn't as strong as some more recent symbiotes, he's certainly been more than a match for Spidey, even when the symbiote switched to other hosts like Mac Gargan, Flash Thompson, and Lee Price. Another Venom offshoot, Mania, has shown a much greater degree of bloodlust and rage than its parent. That's in part because one of its wearers was also cursed by a supernatural brand called the Hellmark. Talk about an interesting life. More recently, the Mania symbiote has passed to a criminal named Lee Price and shown the ability to enslave others by infecting them with pieces of the symbiote. Did you know that Peter Parker's old high school frenemy became a host for the Venom symbiote at one point? They even joined the Guardians of the Galaxy. It was during this time that Venom became a cosmic superhero known as a Space Knight and tapped into greater levels of strength than ever before. Unfortunately, it didn't last, and it wasn't long before Flash and Venom were separated and left to fend for themselves back on Earth.
Carnage.
For a while, Carnage was basically top dog of the symbiotes, the big enchilada, head honcho, the big kahuna, just as Venom is a step beyond Spider-Man. Carnage surpasses Venom. Psychopathic murderer Cletus Cassidy was Eddie Brock's cellmate who fused with a trace of his symbiote, and the symbiote's own emotional detachment pairs a little too well with Cassidy's bloodlust, resulting in a super-powered villain who loves to kill. Well, doesn't that sound like someone everyone wants to be around? Carnage finally gained an enemy who could operate on his level when he accidentally spawned SCORN. Because of its unusual origin, the SCORN symbiote is a fusion of biological and technological life. That means that not only does she have strength to match Carnage, but she can also interface with machines. TOXIN was the first symbiote to spawn from Carnage and basically wields the combined might of his parent and Venom. Plus, it has an unusually developed personality and a strong bond with its original host, Patrick Mulligan, which only adds to its strength. Fortunately, the symbiote has shown a tendency to fight on the side of good.
Patient Zero.
In terms of raw strength, ANTI-VENOM may not be the most powerful symbiote, but this hero is perfectly equipped to battle and defeat others of its kind. ANTI-VENOM's cleansing touch can literally burn other symbiotes, causing extreme pain and even death. The US government once created a batch of super soldiers empowered by samples of the Grendel, a primordial symbiote that, hold your horses, we'll talk about more in a second. Given their direct link to the progenitor of the entire symbiote race, these super soldiers were both incredibly strong and very difficult to control. One flashback story even showed them easily defeating both Nick Fury and Wolverine in Vietnam. When you combine Green Goblin and Carnage, you get Red Goblin! Recently, Norman Osborn willingly bonded with the Carnage symbiote, compounding Osborn's already considerable strength while also throwing in destructive Carnage bombs. Even traditional symbiote weaknesses like sound and fire are only minor nuisances to this guy. The current Venom series has dramatically changed the origin of Marvel's symbiote characters. It turns out that all symbiotes are spawns of an ancient god named Null and the dragon-like Grendel we mentioned earlier. Null's existed since the earliest days of the universe and has been waging a war against the all-powerful Celestials. To paraphrase Black Widow, this guy's basically a god. So yeah, he's the most powerful symbiote ever. For even more on Venom, get all the details on the movie's villain Riot, or check out an exclusive clip from the film. And for all your Venom and Marvel needs, like and subscribe to IGN.